Is Fire and Blood worth reading? My answer is it depends, because this book is not for everyone. I personally love it, but this isn't a book I can just recommend to anybody. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you why that is the case, so you can decide for yourself whether this book is suitable for you or not. I'm going to first give you a bit of background information on what this book is actually about, and then I'll explain why I think this book might not be for everyone and why I love it so much. And also, since you clicked into this video, I'm going to assume you already know that this book is from the Song of Ice and Fire universe, also known as the Game of Thrones universe, and that the House of the Dragon is based on this book. So I'll just be using terms from the Song of Ice and Fire series without explaining them. On to the background info. Fire and Blood is actually a fictional history book. What that means is this isn't exactly a novel, and it's more like a book that's written to look like a history book from the Game of Thrones universe itself. This is a pretty massive book. It's around 700 pages long, and it covers the history of the Targaryen dynasty. And the thing is, it doesn't even cover the entire dynasty. It's because George R. R. Martin is absolutely crazy, and it took him 700 pages just to cover the first half of the Targaryen dynasty. To give you a sense of the scope of this book, let's take a look at this chart. Here you can see all the Targaryen kings listed out. This book covers the history starting from Aegon I all the way down to the first half of the reign of Aegon III. So it doesn't even cover the entire history of the reign of Aegon III. It only covers the first half of his reign before the book ends. So this is actually just the first volume of Targaryen history, and there's supposed to be a second volume that hasn't even been released yet, that should cover the reigns of all the remaining kings. And for a bit of perspective, here is Viserys I and Aegon II. And if you've watched The House of the Dragon, this time period is where the House of the Dragon storyline takes place. And over here, you have Daeron II and Aerys I. This is where the storyline of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms takes place. And to show you a bit more of what the book is like inside, you'll see this book is actually full of really nice illustrations. So you have all these illustrations scattered throughout the book, which look really nice. And the book itself is actually designed to look like a history textbook written by a maester from the Citadel. So if you'll just flip to this page over here, you see this is a history of the Targaryen kings of Westeros. This is volume 1, going from the reign of Aegon I to the regency of Aegon III, written by Archmaester Gildane. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, of the Citadel of Oldtown, and this is supposed to be transcribed by George R. R. Martin. Now, on to why I think this book might not be for you. As you can see, this is a huge 700-page long book of essentially fake history. So if you're just a casual fan of the Song of Ice and Fire series, you might find this book pretty dry and hard to digest because it's written to feel like a history book. So this is not exactly a novel, and it's not exactly written in a style you'd expect from a novel. I've seen this book compared to the Silmarillion from The Lord of the Rings. I have not read the Silmarillion, so I cannot say for sure whether this comparison is fair or not, but the main idea is this is a book more suited for lore junkies like myself. And if you're looking for a more narrative-driven story instead of just endless info about made-up history, this might not be the book for you. Now, on to why I love this book. I love it first and foremost for the immersion. As you can tell, I'm a huge fan of the Song of Ice and Fire universe. I've always loved delving into fictional worlds. My head is constantly up in the clouds, and I just love learning about made-up history from fantasy and sci-fi worlds, more so than real-life history. And so, Fire and Blood is perfect for someone like me. Reading this really makes me feel like I'm immersed in the world. I feel like I'm also a scholar from the Citadel in Old Town, like I'm studying another maester's work on the history of Westeros. And the book itself is also written in a very unique style that adds to this immersion. For example, the text will reference other fictional texts as if those fictional texts actually exist, and it'll also quote rumors and leave certain details ambiguous and up to interpretation, just like in the real world, because in real life history, we might not always have proper records for everything. And also, the quality of the prose is also worth noting, because the tone of the prose is a little didactic, just like the kind of style you'd expect from a maester who's trying to educate you on a topic. So this book really tries its best to create this feeling that this is an actual history book plucked straight out of Westeros. The second reason why I love this is because all the lore that you learn from this book deepens the enjoyment you get from all the other works from the Song of Ice and Fire universe. The knowledge you gain from this book will make references in the other novels make a lot more sense, and this is not just limited to books. Watching the TV shows, whether it's the original series or House of the Dragon or Knights of the Seven Kingdoms, just having a more thorough knowledge base of Westeros will allow you to enjoy these screen adaptations a lot better too. So for me, reading Fire and Blood was really worth my while, and if you're a lore junkie like myself, I highly recommend this to you. Also, just some final thoughts before I end this video. Season 3 of The House of the Dragon is out now, and for every past season, I've been rereading Fire and Blood. Not the entire book, mostly just the parts that were covered in each season. So these days I've been diving back into this, and it's been a ton of fun. I see a lot of people argue about whether the adaptations have been sufficiently faithful, and for me, it doesn't really bother me that much if the show is a bit different from the book, because I just treat the TV show as an alternate universe, kind of like how Marvel has many different versions of the same superheroes, and they're just living in parallel universes. It's actually a lot of fun to watch The House of the Dragon and to read this in parallel, because you'll be able to compare and contrast and judge for yourself whether the changes were good or bad, or whether you think you could have done a better job yourself. Overall, despite some flaws, I do think the TV shows are well made, and so far, season 3 has been pretty good. I'm up to episode 2 so far, and I'll probably end up sleeping with this book for the rest of July. I actually got this copy a couple of years ago in Australia, back in 2020, I think, and I'm surprised the pages are already starting to yellow. But it's actually nice because it makes the book look more like an ancient tome from the Old Town Citadel. But anyway, that's all I have to say for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.